Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the news behind the news with Ralph Kintav on Mix 94.7 FM. I hope that you guys have been having a good day so far and a blessed week as well. This afternoon, I have here with me Mr. Kimo Thomas from Kooyman. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Ralph.
Okay,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's also a pleasure to have you on the program. Of course, I think people have noticed throughout different sectors on the island, you notice price increases, whether it's in food, construction material, and so forth. Yeah. I think it was only fair to have someone like yourself to come in and give the people an understanding of how the pandemic, the global shipping backlog and challenges has affected your business as well,
yes,
which of course affects so many other businesses and individuals. So I guess to start off, my first question for you would be, at what point did you start to notice prices start to increase?
From, in essence, the very beginning. It started, the high point of the pandemic, I think, in March. We went into lockdown. And at that point, I think normally we help out government and different agencies with sourcing material and strange things at any point in time, because usually they come to us to see if we can get it because we have a strong logistical chain. And just trying to get, PPEs and masks, N95 masks at the beginning for government was a struggle because we locked it down. They said yes. We told them yes. And then the next day I have to say no because we don't know. Because basically it was a free-for-all in the ports in China. And it basically held hostage. Who decided to pay more is who cargo going to go on the boat. And that's basically what it was. It was very disgusting and very, compromising for us as a company in the beginning. And from there, we kind of understood the challenges that we were going to deal with moving forward, because it's basically who wants to pay more is who cargo going to move first.
Well, okay. Yeah, so and that in itself says, well, why you see the trickle-down effect.
Yeah, and one of the biggest issues that we found out later on through going through that exercise and trying to help and facilitate is a container that used to cost $2,000 to ship from China to the U.S. or to St. Martin. Right now, I think the highest point, it went up to almost $30,000 just for the empty shell. That you didn't put any products in it yet, but it cost $30,000.
That sounds almost impossible, though.
Well, it's supply and demand.
Wow.
Is you want it to reach, so you have to pay for it to reach.
From $2,000 to
$30,000.
That is sharp.
Yeah, and it has to do a lot with, again, the same thing, businesses switching up their core business and trying to facilitate and help everybody. Containers ended up in countries and ports that don't usually get those container ships, like South Africa, Southeast Asia. Those are not the true export routes. So the containers ended up there. They don't really have exports, so the containers don't really reach back. And then you get a drain on the containers. And then at a certain point in time, okay, China and Israel, I think some of those is the bigger shipping ports that generate the containers. If they don't get back the containers, they have to process and make new containers. So the cost of that starts to go up. And then if you're waiting on supplies, that exacerbates the issue.
Correct. Gotcha. Yeah, because already from since we're basically into the Christmas season from September, October. People already told us and start buying your Christmas, doing Christmas shopping and stuff, because products are not guaranteed.
Yeah, things are very, very disgusting right now. A lot of the challenges is, it's not that your vendors or suppliers don't want to supply you. They just don't have the raw materials or that final part to complete the product to give you the product. Like, for instance, right now, I know for sure going into the future that that's something that you should pass on to most of the consumers now. Paint in general will start to skyrocket because there's a depletion on raw materials. Sure. So basically, they're scrambling trying to get stuff in. And to show you, I read about it in the news, and it's so current because I was trying to help out government with a side project, and we were gathering information from a new vendor, and the vendor basically said, look, you guys are not our regular customer. We don't regularly do business. I haven't it hard already to keep up with our basic customers.
Have,
so for right now, we can't help you. If you want help, they're telling us to contact their supplier who provides them the raw materials. That's how drastic it is.
Wow. And speaking of raw materials, as far as the typical construction items, nail, zinc, cement, etc.
Steel, lumber, plywood,
yes,
that's the basic stuff.
Which of those would you say have taken the biggest hit in terms of increases?
Lumber and ply form. Steel has been relatively high for years. Just people didn't notice. The stock, just the futures just been going up constantly. Only now recently, I think maybe the last 2 months that started to drop off, but it's futures, so you have to wait a couple of months for that to trickle into the market. But lumber and plywood, the biggest impact of that was, and people don't realize, it was the lockdown. Multiple things. Mills shut down. Even if mills try to start back up with less staff, corona outbreaks, mill have to shut back down. And on top of that, a lot of items that have to do with lumber and plywood are cardboard boxes and paper. People don't realize that. What most people was doing during the lockdown, ordering stuff on Amazon. A lot of boxes went to a lot of places around the world. So that depletes the soft lumber in the market, and then they have to restock. But if the mills are not open to produce, because the lumber and paper, everything comes from a tree. It doesn't just come like that. They have to produce it. And if you don't have people, you're shut down. Yeah.
Got you, man. What an interesting time to be alive, right? I think that was one.
And the main thing, what affects everybody is we become more globalized.
Yeah.
And the world is working, and how the business model is set up was set up before the pandemic was just in time. So I have just enough stock to meet just the demand I have. I forecast, but I plan just in time. And everybody plan everything in the logistical team just in time. But if one cog in that chain goes out, it takes a long time for that clock to reset, because everything is a cascading effect for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you mentioned, the globalization is a factor. There's no longer that major focus for domestic production, particularly just China alone as a main factor.
Yeah, but it's not only China. People don't know it's China, South Korea, Taiwan, a lot of those places, and Malaysia, even places in Europe. Those are the places that usually produce a lot of the materials. But if they don't have any containers to ship out, if the factory is shut down because of lack of staff or a corona outbreak in the facility, all of that affects you getting your stuff in.
So that was actually one of the questions I have for you later down in terms of areas where products are made. Because would you say that majority of the stuff come from Asia? Do we get stuff from Latin America as well? Is there a significant market there?
We at Kooyman source from basically kind of all over the world. Most of our regular markets is either South America, North America, Europe, and Asia. But in the light of the coronavirus and all the different issues that we've been having, we try to broaden our scope to look where we can get for reliable vendors. Because one thing with Kooyman is we don't just jump ad hoc and say, oh, we see this person selling that, we'll go buy. No, it's about, we have to do some background checks, because you have to be consistent. You have to be able to give quality, because once we start to do business with you, it's not like a one-time thing. It's a relationship.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and of course you're a brand as well. So who you do business with still also affects your brand, your quality,
and that reflects back on us providing material to the customer. So if we have to keep giving the customer a story, that reflects bad on us. So that's why we do our due diligence in advance.
Gotcha. One of the things that still stuck in my mind is what you said about paint, because paint comes in for whether it's small DIY projects to, of course, large scale developments. Do you see that skyrocketing taking place soon, or is it
very soon? Because our vendors told us about it, and then I did some research. You just Google it right now. New York Times, everybody talking about it. Sherwin-Williams, everybody will be affected by the lack of raw materials, because it's, again, supply and demand.
Yeah.
If there's only so much supply, it's a bidding war to see who's going to get the raw materials to be able to produce.
Yeah, gotcha. And is there, of the products what would you say are the products that are typically in demand for you guys?
Well, right now, cement, since after Irma and the pandemic and multiple situations, we're experiencing a building boom, a construction boom. So a lot of the basic materials like steel, lumber, plywood, studs and tracks, sheetrock, all of that stuff is in high demand now because of the different projects that are going on the island. And everyone is fighting to get the material in. We had customers, or there are customers, St. Martin is a very entrepreneurial island. A lot of people bring stuff in themselves, but a lot of companies were forced to start to come back and try to source locally because you run into the challenges like even Kooyman, as before the pandemic, you don't get a 30-day, 90-day, 60-day to pay a bill anymore. Most of the vendors say, hey, cash flow is kind of tight right now. Yeah. You got to come up with everything
that's
up front.
From small businesses up to heavy corporation, basically. Yeah, no one could have really afford to.
It tend to say it affects us. We can still do it, but it puts a damp on our cash flow as well. But imagine the smaller chains or the smaller corporations, the smaller entities.
Yeah, indeed. Well, of course, after Irma, of course, there was the boom in construction. But would you say that there's been a drop in construction right now on the island?
I don't see any slowdown in construction. And maybe, how would I put it, you won't see the big notarized construction sites or construction projects, but there's a lot of work being done on the island when it comes to villas, new projects, the towers. A lot of construction is happening on the island.
Gotcha. And speaking of island, we are one island as well still. So I could imagine that you guys have clients from the French side.
Yeah, we even get cargo from the French side. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's interesting. Because I was going to ask as well, do you service or provide goods to neighboring islands as well?
Yeah, we do a lot of export to Saba, Statia, sometimes even Tortola, Dominica, Anguilla.
Okay. And so as you mentioned, it is indeed possible then for you guys to do special orders. Do you get that often?
We do a lot of special orders. I even ordered bulletproof glass in the past for some customers, so we can special order just about anything if it's available in the market.
Gotcha.
Like right now, and I make sure to tell most of my customers, like right now, we always try, but don't really depend on special orders right now unless you give me a big lead time, at least 8 to 12 weeks, because there is no guarantee to get stuff. Because they had a customer that wanted a particular material, and we went out to the market, and our logistics department said, Kimo, we're looking, but we can't really find. I said, it's impossible. I said, why the other vendors? He said, Kimo, we can get it. They have a supplier to have it, but they want us to pay top dollar, and we have to take a whole flat of it. He said, that don't make no sense.
Yeah,
you understand? That is a high price item. We normally just get 1 or 2 bundles, but because of how the market is, they're forcing us to take a whole flat, which will skyrocket the price, and then we're stuck with inventory for no reason.
So for clarity's sake, then, let's say, okay, we do have quite a number of construction projects going on and so forth, but island-wide, if it's both sides of the island, let's say there's a boom that takes place, even more projects that are happening. Do you think that would be a help in driving down prices, or would it still kind of be the same?
The problem is, in essence, the demand is also affecting the price because the world has not caught up yet. The supply chain has not caught back up to pre-COVID conditions. Right now, the analysts say it's forecast to continue into the third quarter of next year before we get back to some kind of normal. Everybody's saying normal, but it is no real normal because from the first 2 big projects that say, okay, I need 500 of this and I need 600 of that. Okay, the vendors say, okay, well, we can't really supply that.
Gotcha.
And we even had that just in normal times after Irma. Like just for instance, you say screws, fasteners. The vendor, what we order from, and is supposed to be a big vendor in North America, they were telling us basically, guys, you guys ordering a whole year's worth of stock in 2-3 months. What's going on? I say, construction is going on, so they have to produce more. But if that was done an issue before the pandemic.
Yeah, so imagine. Wow, man. But that's pretty deep, man. Third quarter next year. We got to...
because the thing is, okay, the factories open back up, they start to supply back, but the demand hasn't diminished.
Correct.
And you're playing a catch-up role.
Correct.
I even read somewhere that certain issues are developing in the U.S. even for them to even try to overstock stuff because, for instance, all of the summer deals and summer material that they bought in, planning for this bulk of regular sales, didn't happen because everybody was in lockdown. That stuff is in warehouses. Where do you put it? You're not going to destroy it. You paid it. It's taking up space.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, because just as individuals, companies can burn out. So I guess they also are factoring the fact that you can't check out yourself just to provide a good service.
Yeah, because look, if my warehouses are full with old stuff already, I'm not gonna go. Yes, I could go and invest and build some new warehouses or rent more warehouses, but then that cost will be passed on to you.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, because you mentioned that. My follow-up question is: have you realized a change in your clientele? You would say since the pandemic, or is it still pretty steady?
We've had a change in, let's say, the buyer's behavior, and I think everybody realized that through the whole world. Like during the pandemic, vendors couldn't keep up with plant pots and soil. It was a phenomenon. A lot of people was doing a lot of gardening. A lot of people was doing a lot of DIY. So that affected a lot of the stock in the world. And that was during the time when factories wasn't really running at 100% throughput. So,
gotcha. Okay. And so overall, how has the pandemic affected Kooyman, your company, and how have you guys been managing with that?
Well, it affected us just like it affected everyone else. The only difference is we have had a lot of experience dealing with crisis since from Irma days. So normally when something like that happens, we have like a core team that deals with just the bare necessities unless government or emergency services need us. As much as that demand continues, we try to fulfill that. It was like maybe a group of 8 or 10 people working through the whole lockdown while the rest of the staff, just like all other companies, was home. And, you still have that overhead. You still have to pay personnel. You still have to live up to your responsibilities. So,
gotcha. Sorry.
No problem.
So, Kooyman, I think, is about to celebrate 15 years.
Yeah, this week.
15 years.
This week, right?
Great.
Yeah.
So, looking back at the years that Kooyman have been on St. Martin, how do you assess your contribution to St. Martin?
I think we contributed a lot. We always do donations. We're always there to help. You can ask any of the institutions anytime a disaster, anything happens. It's either us or one of the other big vendors they always contact to get their supplies.
Okay, gotcha. And from your end, is there anything else you would like to share that you find the public should be aware of?
Patience is the key. Patience is the key. The most important thing, and I try to push that to all our customers, and even because I deal with mostly, bulk and big projects, but even the regular consumer, plan your stuff out. That's even for the big consumers, the big project people as well. Planning is key, because if you don't project what you're going to need in advance for us to try secure it, to try get it at a decent price, because the earlier I know about something gives us time to shop around. Mm-hmm. But if you come today for today and you need it now, we have to go to the first person that jumps in line, and he might not be the most, economical choice for you.
Gotcha. Okay. So I guess finally I would ask then, you are a well-known rep at Kooyman, you're the accounts manager.
Account manager.
Yeah. So this one's a little on a personal side, but, given your years and experience in this, as working in a corporation, what would you say are some of the lessons that you carry with you that help you in business?
Like I say, preparation. Preparation and planning is one of the most important things, More and more our country and the people are getting more used to that. We're not used to that. We come, I need this now, and you just show up and you just expect it to be there. But it doesn't always work like that. And my experience in the company, because I did 5 years of logistics first, and next year, March, I'm going to make 5 years in account management. So I've seen both sides of the coin. If you do not plan, you do not prepare, you're going to get left out most of the time, because there is always some developer or some contractor that comes in that has a big project. You've been seeing toilets there all the time, and then you come tomorrow, there's no toilets there, because that person needed them and they bought up everything.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Gotcha. So I would like to thank you so much for coming on the program. Of course, this information you shared is much needed, very valuable as well. So
no problem.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. All right, so to our viewers and listeners, that was Kimo Thomas from Kooyman, and hope that this interview helped clarify a whole lot of stuff in regards to the construction industry. And of course, we'll be having more of these conversations. So do stay tuned for that, and do take care as well.